Hi everyone. I've got a lot of requests coming in to demonstrate and explain how to set up a static website on Amazon Web Services. So that's a little different than setting up an EC2, which I already have some tutorials about. You can check those out at my channel, which I guess you're probably on already. Um, so if you go to my videos and scroll down to setting up a WAMP map server in PHP Basics, I believe is the one. Let me just see. No, it would be the free WordPress site.
You go to AWS.
So, the difference between an EC2 and an Amazon S3, number one, in terms of price, is going to be a lot less expensive to set up an S3. It'd be at most like a couple dollars a month. EC2, you're looking at around $10 to $20 a month for a really elaborate server that a lot of people go to. So my website is actually on an EC2. And it is HTTPS secure. I use Certbot, a free software for that, and it is a Bootstrap website. So we're gonna recreate this kind of portfolio website, but we're going to do it on an S3, so it's a lot less money. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that we want to do is set up an Amazon AWS account. You can get a student account for free for at least a little while. So if you're one of my students following along, if you go to AWS Educate and click on Join, enter your university email, and I think they'll probably want to verify with you. So fill all that out. They'll probably want to verify with you that you're a student, and you might have to send them a photo of your student ID, but everything else should be fine. Once you do that, you'll get to a screen kind of like this, except you'll probably have a timer because the free student accounts usually they time how long you're in there. But once you've done the basic setup, you don't actually have to be in there very long at all. So it's a good way to get comfortable with AWS, and we'll talk about how you can back up your entire website so that if that account goes down, you can very quickly set up a different one. Okay, so once you get to the AWS Management Console, there's been some changes to the way that this appears, and I like these changes. So if you just scroll down and Learn to Build, and then click on Websites and Web Apps, and then scroll to the very first one, host a static website. The tech we're going to be using is Route 53 to actually buy a domain, a DNS. The DNS is the human readable text like danielhempikian.com that you type in to go to a certain IP address. So I can actually go to my IP address and arrive at the same place. It's just that this DNS redirects people who type in that www through an A record, example.com, to the actual location of your website, which will be in an S3 bucket. So we'll use Route 53 to buy the domain, S3 to actually put our website, and then we'll use CloudFront distribution, which will move the contents of our website to an S3, a more local, a closer location to the user. Okay, so we have an AWS account. You can see from the monthly billing estimate, $1 to $3 or 50 cents if you're free tier a month. Student accounts, I think, start with like $100 or something to play around with, so you should be well under that. So let's click on the Get Started with Implementation guide, and I'm going to actually move this to a different screen, but I will be following it as we go. So let me move this up here and make it a bit smaller. And move one down here. Okay. So let's come up with a name for our domain. I think, let's see, one thing I've been thinking about is making a website where you could host logic games that people could play to improve their mind and their logic abilities. So let's go with that. Logicgames.com, maybe we can get that. Let's try it. So let's register a domain. I'm gonna click on that. First thing we need to do is register a new domain with the S33 development guides. I'm gonna click on that, bring it up. All right. So it's gonna be about $10 to register a domain. And we want to open Route 53, so I'm going to open that in a new tab. Bring this over here. Whoa. Bring this over here and this over here. And it's going to tell us that we want to AWS credits. Okay, so you can't use your student credits to pay for this. This is buying a domain. It's going to be about $10 a year. It's not very much. All right. By the way, the name of your domain, if it's depending on the name you want, will be, $12, but it'll be more if it's kind of a popular domain. So, all right. Sign in. We're new. We're in the navigation pane. We want to register a domain. We're already there. So it's asking us to type a domain name. So I'm going to try logicgames.com and I'm going to check that. It is unavailable. So let's try about mindgames.com. Let's check that. So notice this is unavailable, but we can do bigmindgames.com. Bodymindgames.com. That's kind of interesting. So I'm going to get that one. That sounds like a cool domain. Cool domain to work with. So we've got that in our cart now. I'm going to continue and enter the details for your end domain. Enter the contact information values. Okay, so we're going to put our information here. Organization, our email, so that we can get contacted. We could put our phone number, but I'm going to leave that blank because it doesn't appear to be necessary. For the address, yeah, that's probably fine. That's just my university address. And good, okay. Privacy, person protection, we do want enabled. Nope, doesn't need my phone number. Okay. I'm gonna pause the video for a second. Okay, so all I've done is enter my phone number and click on next. Oh, no, you saw it anyway. Okay, so do you want to automatically renew your domain? I actually do. I think this is a cool domain to have. And then you just click I've read and agree, and we'll complete the order. All right, it's going to take a little bit to process that domain. And so now we own a domain. That's great. Now the next step is to I have to check that if they're sending me a verification email. So let me check that real quick. so nothing yet. So once we have the domain registered, and it may actually take a little while. The next thing to do is to we want to use root 53, and then we're going to put in an A record that redirects to, so this is just going to be pending for a while, we'll navigate back to that in a bit, but it's going to redirect back to our static S3. Okay, so we have registered domain, we've done that. Now we want to create two buckets. So one's going to be a domain bucket, one's going to be a subdomain bucket, so that we redirect www requests to example.com. All right, so let's create some buckets. So S3 is basically a storage system, and what we're going to do is store static web page content on that system. That storage location has an IP address that we can actually, an address of the computer where it's actually located, where we can redirect bodymindgames.com to this place. So that's what we're going to do. First, we're going to go now to services. And we're going to go to storage S3. Like I said, it's a storage system. And so I actually have some here. I'm going to go ahead and just delete these. Oh, we can only delete one at a time. So let's delete. Case files for Daniel and Peking, adjustment app. Let's delete this one. Whoa, come on. Daniel Peking Friday class. Oops. Daniel, Aram, and Pekin. Daniel, Aram, and Pekin. ID class. .com. Confirm. I can't remember what I was doing with this, but it seems like maybe I was making a Udemy tutorial, so I'm just going to leave that there. Okay, so let's create a new bucket, and we need a bucket name, and it must match the domain that we have. So the first bucket is not going to have so in the next step, let's see, we want something.com as the root domain, and then the subdomain will be www.com. Okay, so the first one is going to be create bucket, enter a bucket name. So example.com. So it's going to be mindbodygames.com. And let's just verify over in S3. I mean in root 53. That is the domain. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's scroll back up here. Okay, that's what I want. I want the console in S3. And I'm just looking here at, there's my domain, still in progress. So mindbodygames.com. And for the region, yeah, I guess that's fine because we're going to use CloudFront anyway to optimize it. And we want to copy settings from an existing bucket. Let's actually not do that, even though I have existing buckets configured correctly for static websites, but I want to go through the process of this. So mindbodygames.com. Next. Okay, so let's check now what the next step is. We enter a bucket name, choose the region, accept default settings, and hit create. All right. So next, permissions. That's fine for now. And create. All right. So there is mindbodygames.com, and we're going to now make another bucket called www.mindbodygames.com, and next, create bucket. So now we have these two, and okay. Now let's configure the root domain for website hosting. So to configure your bucket for website hosting, we need a bucket with the same name as your domain. We want to go to, let's select it. So it's the mindbodygame, not the www one. We're going to go to properties. We're going to choose static website hosting. And we want to use this bucket to host a website. And the file name index.html is fine. And error.html is fine for that. Okay. And now we don't want redirect requests. So all that looks fine. Okay, so now let's save. All right. Now, step 3, let's configure the subdomain. So let's go back to S3. This is our subdomain, so I'm going to select that. Click on properties, and again, static website hosting. And this one is going to be a redirect. So we're going to select redirect, and then in the target bucket, we'll put the mindbodygames.com there. And for the protocol, we want HTTP. Okay. Save. Good. All right, so now configure logging for website traffic. That's probably a good idea. So let's go back, mindbodygames.com, and let's go to properties. And we want to enable logging for the root domain bucket. So static website hosting, and versioning, server access, no, management maybe. Well, we can worry about logging and analytics later. Perhaps it's this one. Okay. So if we enable logging for this one. That should take care of that. All right, now upload index and website content. Okay, so we've configured our root domain bucket. Now we need some content. So we have not created the website yet, so we just need an index. We can create that here. I'm actually gonna do something for this though. If you just Google, so a lot of the requests I've got for this video are people who want to make a portfolio website and host it, you know, without paying much, but still have control over all the content. So what I would do, you know, if it were me, instead of reinventing the wheel, I would search for Bootstrap free portfolio themes. And what we want is start bootstrap.com because if you take a look, so this one looks cool. If we take a look at the code on GitHub, and we take a look at the, let me pull this a little over. We take a look at the license here. You can see that this is giving permissions for commercial use, modification, distribution. So as long as we maintain that license, we'll be fine. We can, it's always important to go over this. The above copyright notice and its permissions has to be included, and so that's fine. All right, so what we'll do then is we'll just pull this whole website. We could just download it actually here. So let's just click on that, and we're getting it as a zip file. I'll pull up my documents here. It's always good to have a folder with some, you know, pretty okay website content pictures to work with. So that's what I have open right now. I'm gonna open a new window here though and go to my downloads and scroll down, and I'm actually going to extract all of this. And let's put the extracted files in documents. Let's make a new folder called website tutorial. Okay, and let's extract to there. Let's take a look at what we got here. First of all, I'm going to rename this to mindbodygames.com. And we should have a nice index. So if we click on that, you can see that this is actually located on my computer now. So let's change a few things just so you get an idea for how this is going to go if you're making your own portfolio. Let's just take a look. So this is a single page scroll. Cool, okay. And if we click on like get started, yeah, so all on a single page. It's got nice scrolling action, a nice Bootstrap theme bar that stays up. So let's just replace some of these pictures and some of these names. Right. And then we will upload it. So to do that, let's open this up now with, I'm going to use Visual Code to edit this. If you want to get that for free, it's just a free IDE from Visual Studio people, but much more lightweight, so you can just download that. You could also use Atom or Sublime or whatever you want. But okay, here's my index. Let's see where these pictures are coming from. So let me pull this over here and this over here so we can see the changes live. And let me see if I can get rid of this there. Okay. I'm actually going to make this a little smaller so I can see it better. And, all right. So we have a nav bar, and we have an about section. Services doesn't make sense to me for a portfolio website, so let's put, artwork. I think probably about me, maybe like, about's fine actually. About artwork, resume, or maybe like skills, and contact is probably fine there. All right, so if I save this now and I refresh over here, notice that we have now artwork, which still takes us down to here. And we have three, actually artwork looks more like a skills, so I'm gonna switch those. So for artwork, let's make that skills, and let's make this artwork. And at the top, see how it says start Bootstrap? I'm just gonna write Mind Body Games. This is so if this were a portfolio website, it would probably look like this. Instead of skills, let's do games. And instead of artwork, let's do, so what does that look like down here? In development, how about that? All right, looks good. I'm gonna leave the rest of the text alone for now. Let's go ahead and replace this picture back here though, so it's a little more customized. So the first thing I'll do to do that is actually need to drag some of my pictures into here. So if you take a look at their images, they have this that we're looking at now, this desk called bgmasthead.jpg. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this fractal deal over into here, just so you get a feel for how to replace the content. I've already shown you how to replace some of the code a bit. So fractal4.jpg instead of bgmast is what we're going to do. So I'm going to find Control F to look for bg, what was it called? Mast. And I'm not seeing it. So where is that coming from? That's interesting. Maybe it's in the CSS that they're linking the pictures. So class masthead, and they're not actually defining the picture here, which makes me think that in a CSS file that they have, let's go back to the top level and let's look at, there's index, let's look at our CSS and let's open this with code. And scroll down. Let me just Control F and write bg masthead. There it is. Okay, so here's the actual call to the image URL. I'm going to replace that here with .image / fractal4.jpg and save it. And let's go ahead and do that in the min CSS as well. Control F, masthead, there it is, and we can replace that with fractal4 and save that as well. Okay, so now if we refresh, we should see our nice fractal pattern there in the background. It's still their color scheme, so we'd have to modify their color scheme here as well. So if we look at the masthead, we've got this. Let's see. Well, yeah, it doesn't really matter, but you can see that the background color here is kind of a weird orange for me. I'm more of a blue guy, honestly, so what if we make it like just that kind of, even a dark blue? Yeah, let's save that. And we might want so it's pulling from the min, so we'd have to adjust it here as well. But we can do that by going to, let me pull this down so I can see a little better here. All right. And what I really want to do is save this as a min file. We would actually want to minimize that before we, upload it, but okay. So that didn't work great. Did I not modify it? No, I didn't. Okay. Let's get that color going. Okay. Is it actually changed? Yeah. Save. All right. There we go. Nice blue fade. I don't like that orange either, but let's not mess around too much with that. All right, so you get the idea how to modify these. If we wanted to add another section or another link, standard HTML rules apply. So that's weird. No, let's not say that. In index, maybe in this about section, we could have this get started button go to https danielppm.com. Save that, just so you get an idea now for how this would, so there's my website. Right, so for how you could redirect things, if you wanted a whole nother section, what I would do is just put a new one down here, give it a new ID, and here's a new section for your portfolio, or whatever, right? Save it. Now if we go back and refresh, we've got what you need. Here's a new section, right? And since it's a different color, you might want that below this one, like that. So there we go. Got what you need. Here's a new section. You get the idea. Okay. So you'd be playing around in this case with preloaded portfolios. You're kind of playing with their rules. I personally don't like embedding all my images in CSS files for things like background. You can see some of their images are actually embedded here, but some of them are embedded, are written in the CSS file, so that's a consideration you might have. So if we wanted to modify one of these images, for example, we could just make this one our fractal for deal, and that'll modify it right here in the browser. Oh, no, did I not save that? Save. Oh, that's the href. So let's change both of these. Source. Reload it. There we go. Nice fractal. The project name is here's a link to some of my work, and then if we wanted maybe like a new page, we could copy this page over, paste it in, save it as a HTML file, and just call it, new work, or new.html is fine, right? Save that, and then we have this like template to work with, so let's make this like title being like our new page. That's in the header, so we wouldn't actually see that, but down here in navigation, we could do like, here is the new page. Save it, and then you could modify this stuff. And then over here in index, we've got this new section. We've got this fractal work. For the href now, we can actually just go to new page, or new.html. So now if we reload this, now this actually takes us to, oh, I see. So this is a different kind of thing where you're where you're navigating, you're loading a image that you can then scroll over to. Okay, so that makes sense. That's really cool for photographs. So this is kind of like learning what their setup looks like and how we can play with it. So why don't we put that new page here then? Whoops. So instead of danielbeekian.com, let's just do new.html. Here's the page that we're working on. So if we now scroll to there, click on that, we get to this new page, and we could also have the menu that brings us back or whatever, right? Okay, so at this point, a lot of it's going to be playing around with this free portfolio we've got, making new pages that contain their way of making Bootstrap divs and columns, and then modifying the content, right? So replacing the text, replacing the images, changing the way that the columns line up, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to go over that process. That's a long process. Okay, so it looks like while we were doing that, my domain was successfully created, so that's great. So now we can redirect that domain. If we look at Route 53, we have this domain registration in progress, but if I refresh, we have a successful domain. Okay, so now let's go back, and we have some content to upload. So to upload your index and website content, upload to the root domain. So how do I upload an object? I'm pretty sure I remember how to do this, so let me just click on that, and we're just gonna upload, and we can just drag and drop files. So it's not super big, this file, but if we just go to documents, not Git, documents, website tutorial, mindbodygames.com, and we just grab all that stuff, right? and we drag it over to here. Let's take a look. And so we are getting the CSS, the JavaScript, the index, all that stuff. All right, let's click on. Okay, so we want to open to get that in there. It's 7.3 megabytes, so not too bad. We click on upload, and there it goes. All right, so now we want to edit our block public access settings next. By default, the default settings, we made it so that people couldn't just go to this website. We locked down the security. So what we want to do now is select the bucket that we've configured as a static website. So go to Amazon S3. This one is our static website. And we want to go to Edit Public Access Settings, Properties, permissions, block public access, and we want to edit this, and we want to clear all of these and click on Save, and let's confirm. Okay. And let's do this as well for the for this one. So permissions, block all public access. Let's edit that, so turn it off, and save. Confirm, because this is a redirect bucket, so we want people to be able to get here and be redirected to. All right, so we've edited the bucket policy for our root domain. Now we want to attach a public policy that grants public read access. So if we go to okay. We want to add a bucket policy. So let's click on bucket policy. Actually, let's start with the root domain, and we want to click on permissions and then bucket policy. We have no bucket policies yet. So if I click in here and I just copy over this bucket policy that grants public read, and we replace example.com with mindbodygames.com, and then save. Okay, so now we know we've got public access. That's fine. All right, so now we can test the endpoint by going to, if we go to access points, nope, okay. So depending on our region, follow these two formats. Bucket name.s3.website. So let's copy that over and paste it up in our browser. And our bucket name here is mindbodygames. We click on that. I don't think that was right, actually. We need the bucket name, which is let's see. Let's go back to S3, and if we just look at some info here, that is the bucket name. So mindbodygames.com, perhaps. .s3. No. S3 website region. Oregon. Okay. If we just click on one of these and copy bucket ARN, see what that looks like. No. Alright. We've got the ARN. Amazon S3 renamed the standard. There's no change. Use a region other than Westport. You must get the locations constraint. Okay. Just gonna pull this over for a second. Alright. So we can actually test this without looking up the endpoints, because we now have an A record, a domain that we can shift to the A record. So we don't actually need to do that part. So let's go ahead and alias this. Alright. I do want to see the endpoint though. Let me just click on that and click on properties. Okay, there's our endpoint. Excellent. So if we just click on that, we get there. Okay, so we have public access. Excellent. And that is our endpoint. Very cool. All right. So now if we go over to, so everything's working fine. If we go over to our Route 53 now, I'm going to bring this over here and bring this back up. So where were we? We registered a domain. And all right, now we have to add alias records. We tested the domain endpoint. So here is our domain. If I go to now hosted zones, click on that. I'm over here in Route 53. So I'm going to click on hosted zones and then choose the name. So if I click over here and I go to choose record set, here, I can't really see this very well. So let me just make this large for a second. All right, go to record set. So here are our records. And we're gonna wanna create a record. So create record set. And it's asking us for a name. So accept the default value, which is the name of your hosted zone in your domain. So that is the default value. It says, here, this is hard to see. It says, so we don't need to fill in anything there. And it says choose a IPv4 address, alias, choose yes. All right. Alias target is going to be the actual endpoint name. All right, so this is where we need to know this. So I'm going to just grab that URL and put it into, into alias target. Actually, if I scroll down here, no, it's not S3. Just paste it in there. Okay. So, yes, choose the same bucket name as appears in the name field. Alias target See, it should be actually popping up for us though. That's a little disturbing. If we select yes, we're not getting any targets available here. So, perhaps we do not want to create a record set. So this NS, if we create a record set for that, and then alias it, and then, still nothing. Okay. Let's go back to hosted zones here. So we are body mind. Oh no. Did I? No, mind body needs to be called body mind. Oh boy. Okay. So let's see here. Body mind. Let's see if mind body games is taken. So easy to, I'm willing to pay for it. We're at 53. Let's see, mind body games. Let's check it. Oh man, it is unavailable. No. Okay, so I am going to pause the video and recreate the buckets, but I'm going to recreate them instead of for mind body, for body mind, bodymind.com. Be with you in just a second. I'm not going to make you watch that process. So make sure you get the domains right, or you'll have to do this too. All right. Okay. So what I did is the same process that we just went through for mindbodygames.com, but instead I made it bodymindgames.com, and the redirect from www.bodymindgames.com. The same code is now in here, and if we go to properties and we go static website hosting and take a look at the access point, you can see there it is. Probably should change that at some point. That's okay for now. Alright, so let's save. Okay, so now that we have a domain that matches our Route 53, if we go back here and we go to our hosted zones, we click on that, we click and we create a record set. That's fine. IPv, and then we alias. Now we can actually see it. So it's showing up as an S3. So if we click on that, that's our alias target, routing policy simple, and let's just create. So there is our alias, and let's test it out. So if we just go to bodymindgames.com. Okay, so it's not working yet. Let's see what else we have to do here. If we go now, let's try www.bodymindgames.com. Okay. So it is trying. So we have some additional steps left. Oh, no. Still not pointing. Alright. We tested our domain endpoint. We added an alias record. IPv4. We aliased. We selected the target. Simple. No. Alright. We need to add an alias record to our subdomain as well. And we just enter www in the box, and then we're going to select the same. Okay. And we create. So let's go ahead and do that. In Route 53, let's create a record set, www.bodymindgames.yes, and let's select this one and create. Okay. Alright, so now we have our aliases set up. Let's try this again. Cool. Alright, so if we go to bodymindgames.com, we get here. If we go to www.bodymindgames.com, we also get there. Alright, so now we have a nice static website. Last thing, I want to keep this video under an hour. Say we wanted to change something like, we have a little problem here, there's development slash, and so there's a little bit of code left over. So we have a copy, a local copy here. What I would do is actually set up a GitHub account and push all that code here up to GitHub. But let's not do that for this video. For this video, let's just click on index. So this one is locally on my computer. We have it open right here. If we go to this development, we just haven't closed that A, so at some point I deleted that. So I can save that, and what we'll do then is take a look at it locally and just look at the difference here. So here it is locally, development, let's refresh it, now that's gone, right? Here it is remotely. So this is the actual website that's online right now, and it's still there, right? So say we just wanted to change that one file so that that little error went away. And actually, let's make this body mind game so that it makes it's consistent with our website name. So I'm going to delete that, body and mind games, and save it. And so now again, we'll see the difference. Remotely, it still says mind body. Locally, on this very computer, it has that change. Okay, so here are the files on my computer, and the only one I changed here was index, so I'm just going to re-upload that. So let me pull this over, and let's get our S3 up over here. Okay, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the actual S3. There we go. Let's pull this over here. Just get that manageable. All right, Windows, so fun to work with. Okay, so now if I click on Body Mind Games, this is where all the code is locally. Notice I can select index now, and if I wanted, I could get rid of that. I could delete it. But I'm actually just going to override it by uploading the same file. So it's just asking me to add files. And so now changing my website is as easy as dragging over this local file where we made the change over to here and clicking upload. Now, if we go, once that upload's complete, and it is, now if we go to bodymindgames.com, body and mind games, if we click here, that little error is gone, right? So it just says development. Okay, so as promised, under an hour, setting up a static website where it looks really professional. You can see how you can modify it and get your artwork up there. You can change the pictures, the content, add your own code, whatever. I think this is a great way to set up a landing page or a portfolio website. Anything where you don't need to save user data in a database, I would use this. It's very inexpensive. $10 for the whole thing for the year, for the domain, and then just a few cents a month. So much less than it would cost to go through, to pay WordPress or to pay Squarespace or Wix or something like that. For something you can have more control over and create on your own, maintain and change on your own. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. See you next time.